the more work you do on yourself, like I always say, like God, I believe in God, people call it universe, whatever, brings the right people in your life for no reason, no apparent reason. And I could give this podcast a thing. I've been thinking about doing podcasts for how long, right?
A long time.
And we were just gonna do it, me and you, Chris, just in the studio, right? I randomly met the guys behind the scenes that you guys can't see right now when they were filming. I was a guest on another podcast, right? And then they approached me and said, like, hey, we want to do this whole video, blah, 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 right when we were about to start our podcast. Yep. And so then we said, but they want to do it on a whole nother level, add video, they have all these ideas and they're so enthusiastic, kind of like what we needed in our life, like what I needed. And they're here. So thank you guys, by the way. Thank you. But like, I don't think that's chance. You know what I mean? I really don't. I mean, it is chance, but not like, I think like once you start becoming, and there's something that they're doing that has them here today, and then there's always a bigger purpose and you accept that. I'm not saying we're going to be together forever. Maybe they'll go on and do different things, but for the moment, that's what it is. And that's what I think, I've turned to. I'm gonna start crying right now. Thank you guys for being in my life. There, you guys can't see them, but, welcome to the Geena the Latina Show. I am Geena. Make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram at the Geena the Latina Show. Okay, so we are already at part 2. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen because we are deep into our spiritual journey right now with DJ Drew. This is actually part 2. We have a part 1, and I wanted to talk about how I'm healing my mind, body, and soul. And at first I said I healed, but I don't believe I healed because I believe that we're always in a work in progress. But to recap the first episode, if you haven't heard it, I kind of started my spiritual journey like 6 years ago. Producer Chris is here, who is,
yes.
Would you say you started yet, or do you even want to?
I don't know. I mean, like I kind of like have talked to people and I've done the whole theta that we talked about. I've done that, but that's a lot of work, guys.
It is. It's a lot of work.
I don't know if I have time for that.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said that. And I mean, DJ Drew is here, world-renowned DJ. I worked at Radio Kiss FM. I don't have your bio anymore because it erased.
Right. It's a Sirius Channel 13.
I'm Sirius Channel 13 is Pitbull's what? Globalization. Yeah. Yes. Anyways, but you started your spiritual journey how many years ago?
Like 2.5.
Yeah. And I don't want to recap too much, but I'm glad you said that it's a lot of work because people will ask me, well, Geena, what do I do? And that's why I'm doing these podcasts is because I've done a lot over the last 6 years. I mean, you have to like dedicate. You have to do this as if it's like you taking a shower every day.
It's
like,
a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and you have to really commit to it. And some people don't have the time, don't want to, and that's cool too. Yeah. But sometimes people, I think you get to a point where you're like, I have no choice. I need to do this if I want to feel better, if I want my life to move forward and all that. And so I wanted to do these podcasts just to go over the stuff that I've done. And again, I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm not even saying that everything I do will work for you. What I'm throwing it out there because I get messages about what I should do so that you can listen to everything we're talking about and see what resonates for you. And if it's your path, then try it. And it may work, it may not. Try something else. So far in part 1, we talked about theta healing. We talked about journaling. We talked about gratitude journal. We talked about healing our traumas. We listed off some good books. We talked a little bit about manifesting, and we started to get into meditation, okay? And I know this is pretty mainstream. Everyone like, oh, do you meditate? Do you do this? Do you do that? And I already see you. I know it's hard for a lot of people. Yeah. Chris, who hasn't decided if he wants to start on a spiritual journey yet.
Well, the thing is, like, I've talked to Geena for a long time about, like, getting into your energy and everything that we've been talking about. But the first thing that you have to really start off with is meditation. And I tell her it's so hard for me to meditate. Mm-hmm. Even if it's like 30 seconds, a minute, it's so hard because I feel like I'm not doing it correctly. I've listened to things and like guidance. I'm like, this doesn't work for me. Like, I can't shut off my brain from working or doing something else related to work or something that I know that I need to do personally. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to like get into that mindset.
And I think a lot of people feel like that. And when I first started, I always say it took me 2 good years of trying, like to do every day trying, whether it be for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'd be turned on meditations and I was like, okay, what is this great feeling that everyone's talking about? Until it finally clicked and I was able to get into that theta brainwave, which we talked about in episode 1. But this is the thing with meditation. Don't give up. I think a lot of people like give up, right?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
literally
yeah.
did it every day. And let me tell you what happened. So I would do it every day. I would download every app. I tried all these, there's a bunch on YouTube. The Insight Timer is one. And I would listen, but I didn't feel like what's so great about this fucking meditation that everyone was talking about,
Yeah.
right? But one day I was dating this guy, and for whatever reason, it was a very like small relationship. It really, really bothered me. Like I was crying, like it ended, blah, blah, all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna meditate. And I meditated, and that was the day that like it just clicked. I woke up. I could give a fuck about him. It was all good. You go on your way. And I was like, not sad anymore. And that was where it clicked. I can't tell you why it clicked that day and none of the other, but what I can tell you is that I tried to meditate every day for 2 years, every day. And that's what we say. It takes a lot of work. Okay.
I think the other thing too about meditation is like there's a lot of because I've had these same thoughts that probably people that are listening or watching have. There's a lot of misconceptions about meditation. Everybody thinks it's just sitting like this, which it is. I meditate in the morning and before I go to bed. I lay in bed.
You sat in like a Buddha pose.
Yes,
by the way, right now.
I'm sorry. And everybody thinks like, oh, your mind just stops. Like you don't have any. It's supposed to be empty. No, your brain is gonna still have thoughts.
Mhm.
The trick of it is to just let it pass and not dwell on that thought. And here's one thing that I realized, because in the morning I do short meditations, and at night I choose longer ones. And I've noticed that I got to do a longer meditation, not because I want to meditate for 40 minutes. It's going to take me a good 20 minutes to quiet my brain.
Mhm.
Once I get past that, I've had a few fantastic experiences meditation. I've been chasing that feeling. That's how great it was. And it's not the feeling, it was the experience. And
And I want you to explain that, but I think that brings us to a point where I feel like people are too hard on themselves. I'm not saying that every time I go into meditation, I get this great euphoric feeling, but I know how it feels and I know how to get there. So, and that goes back to the different brainwaves we were talking about. Like you have to, sometimes I can get into meditation in a minute and get into the theta brainwave. Sometimes it takes me 20 minutes,
Yeah.
like you said. But give people like who've never felt that feeling what it feels like. What are you talking about exactly?
so okay, so here's one of the best experiences I had as meditation. Geena had sent me a guided meditation, and it's 20 minutes long.
I have it if you want me to send it to you, Chris.
It's
20 minutes. That's a long time. But all right.
okay. So,
See?
So-
And I'm glad you're saying that because you have to want to do
Yeah.
it. You have to want to put in the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, 20 minutes, that's a long time to dedicate.
But
I
it
mean,
will change your life, Chris. It will change your
I
life.
think that's the other.
Yeah,
That's a
what
really
people-
important thing. I think that in order for you to make something a lifestyle, you have to reach a point. I'm not going to say rock bottom because what
Yes.
is rock bottom?
Mhm.
It's like, dude, look, if you think rock bottom is maybe like being homeless, how do you know that homeless person isn't the happiest person on earth?
Yeah.
You have to just get tired. Like I watched a video and it was like some guy said like somebody had told him like you start to change when you get tired of your own bullshit. And it's not even so much your own bullshit. I think you just have to be tired of being a certain way.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, I was having bouts of depression where it would like be for a month. Then I would get out of it and I'd be okay. And the next time it hit, and a few months later, 2 months. And it started lasting longer and longer. And I'm like, look, it's going to get to a point where if I don't do something, I may never get out of that depressive state. And then that's going to open up a whole dark Pandora's box. So that's why I decided you just kind of get tired of it.
Yeah.
And so Geena gave me this meditation and I did it. And I started doing it. And maybe like 7 minutes into it, I kind of started it. I could hear it, but now I can't understand what they are saying. It's like
what do you mean? Are you talking about the audio?
the audio
So, okay.
of what the guided
It's almost
meditation
like as if
is.
you're on drugs without doing drugs.
Yes.
I know
okay.
it. It's like, and that's why people do these other drugs, which we'll have other episodes on it that get you there quicker. But I think sometimes they're a crutch. But it is like you feel like you're on drugs,
Yes.
but you haven't taken any
No,
drugs.
and you basically it started like I could hear what they were saying. All of a sudden, it started to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, like wah, wah, wah. You could hear it, couldn't understand it. Now, then at one point, now I can't hear anything.
Hold up, real quick. Like, subscribe, comment below, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Geena the Latina Show. Okay, let's get back to the show.
but now I start to feel myself come out of my body.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I start to float up to the ceiling the same way like a helium balloon would. And I just started, you can't really tell. I can't see my room. I just know where I'm at. It's a feeling. You don't.
Eyes are closed and everything.
Eyes are closed.
Eyes
yeah.
are closed. I just know where I'm at, and I got a feeling. So I started floating up to the top of my bedroom, and I float to one side of the room, and I hit the wall. The wall knocked me over to the other side. But as I'm going to the other side of the room, I start to rotate. So now that my face is facing the floor. Because of that, I start to sink. Now I'm on the side of my bed. Can't see my bed. I just know where I'm at. Now I'm just hovering above the floor. So now I see feet next to me, like, and legs that only go up to like about the knee or the thigh, the thigh. And I start to feel like fingertips, not hands, just fingertips touch my side. Now I'm
touching your side as you're laying down, or you're
no,
floating?
I'm laying.
still-
No, I'm hovering above the ground, like
In the meditation.
Yes, in a meditation. This is all happening in a meditation.
But
I feel
it's
fingertips.
so real.
But you,
Yes.
you feel the fingertips,
Yes.
the meditation version, or the one of you physically laying
No,
down?
the meditation
No,
version
the
does not do
meditation
that.
version.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, it's all in the same.
No,
Okay.
but let me tell you, I have
realized-
that meditation. She doesn't put her hands on you.
No,
right?
no,
Oh.
it's not. It's
It's not. So
nothing.
this is all on
Dude,
his
This is
own
all
thing,
me.
yeah.
Okay.
So I feel the fingertips and I see the feet. Now I get scared because I'm like, everybody's first reaction is like, oh my God, they think automatically the worst, which that is a whole nother issue.
Mhm.
And I started to feel like, okay, I've been doing this work. Everything is okay. There's nothing here to hurt me. There's nothing that's going to scare me. This person here is good. As soon as I had that feeling and that thought, I could feel the fingertips touch me again and just flick me. They just flick up. That's it. I flip back over, and as I flip back over, I start to rise back up again. As if they were there to help me.
Yeah.
That person there was whoever's hands and feet that was either a spirit guide or a guardian angel.
Yeah.
I am
So,
convinced
so
of that.
you never saw.
I never saw
face, you
anything.
never-
Just it was feet and feeling the hands, and I just knew that they're hands. So I floated back up, and I went back to the scene. And then I start to come down, and all of this is just feeling. I can't see anything. I'm just feeling it. As I'm starting to come back down, I start to hear the meditation again, and it's just now I don't know what they're saying, but I can hear it. Wonk, 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 wonk. Start to come down more and more. As I'm coming down, I'm starting to understand it, right? As soon as I come into my whole body, meditation ended.
Yep.
And I woke up
And-
like, whoa.
And let me tell you, that point of that meditation is to get
I already,
you to
wait.
Oh,
I already know what the point was because
what
I
was it?
figured it out.
Okay, what is it? You tell me.
The lesson I got from it was about, and this is a big thing with me, and it's a big thing with everybody, fear. As soon as I let go of the fear, I rose back up. And that's what once I can let go of fear in my life, that's when sky is the limit. That's what I got from the meditation.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't going to say that part. That's what he got from it. But the meditation I gave him, the whole point of what she does is she brings you into the theta brainwave so that you can have your own experience and then brings you back down. So he really got into
So
that.
no matter what,
And-
it will make
No,
you.
some
No,
people,
you-
some
No?
people don't.
Yeah,
Some people don't like. So I don't have that experience where I feel like I'm on the roof, whatever. But you definitely go into a different element. I know it sounds fucking crazy, but it
A
is.
little.
But that's what meditation does, and everything is just clearer. And every time before you meditate, you could set an intention of like, hey, specifically, I need guidance on. I'm buying a house. I don't know what to do with this, or I want to deal with fear, or not even put it. Or you say, what's in my highest and best. And you'll always get something out of it, whether it's a fear, whether it's a direct answer, whatever it is, you will get it. If there is one skill you can learn in your lifetime, it would be meditation. And that's because it will make everything in your life better, and it takes work, and it makes you like calm. But I can't stress this enough. And I don't, for me, like if you really, I've looked into like the most successful people in the world, the most spiritual people in the most, like, you ask them, maybe they don't talk about it, but if you ask them or you read a book on them, they all meditate, every single one, every single day in some form.
Yeah.
And, and this is why I also tell when people are starting, okay, maybe you're not going to get to the theta brainwave. Like he just explained with the theta, that's the thing. He was awake.
How long did that take you?
It was 20. I know how long it's 20
minutes.
That meditation is 20 minutes.
But I mean, like, was it the one time 20 minutes and you were able to do this, or did it take?
Oh no, I had already been.
Years?
It wasn't years. Now, mind you, I've had similar experiences, but they're far in between. Like Geena said, you're not always gonna get there, but it's such a great experience that I'm like, if I can feel myself like. Sometimes I'll be in a meditation and I can already feel. I'm like, oh, here we go. We're about to take off.
Yeah,
and that's basically what it is. Geena described it right. It's like, dude, it's like doing a really good drug, but it's just all you.
So don't expect to actually get something like this right away.
No. I didn't get till after 2 years.
I did. I will say this. I did start. Early on, here's one meditation I started doing on my own. For me, a beach and hearing the water is that's my go-to place.
And that puts you in the alpha brainwave. And if you listen to part 1, I broke all this down. And this is all science. This is not the crazy stuff. We go through different brainwaves throughout the day. We're in beta. This is what we're in beta right now. Alpha would be you at the beach, whatever. And if you want to get to theta, you have to start practicing how to be an alpha brainwave, which daydream, dream, do all these things that kind of zone out. That's what gets you there. And then the next one is theta. And so, and that's what I was saying. So there's a lot of different forms of meditations, and there's not every meditation needs to go as deep as theta. So it could be just an alpha meditation, meaning like when, like a lot of people work out and zone out in music, and they zone out, and you ran an hour, you didn't realize you ran an hour, you went to the alpha brainwave. Maybe not to theta, but that is a great way. That's a meditation too.
Yeah.
Like, so there's lots of different forms of meditation. So if Chris, you can't sit there and do the one we're talking about, then find something else. When do you zone out? You have to like zone out. What makes you do that? Makes you forget about the world, pretty much. Could it be for some people it's swimming, for some people it's running, for some people it's just listening to music, and some people it's smoking fucking weed, right? I would say I would hope you could do it without having to do that every time. But what makes you like zone out, where you're not worried, you're not stressed? Like, you have to have one thing, and that can be your start to your form of meditation. And that is a form of meditation. You're just operating on a different brainwave to get to the deeper brainwave. Do you have anything?
I honestly, right now, as we sit here, I don't think I do have anything that I could just zone out.
That just makes you peaceful.
I can almost guarantee you that, because Chris and I used to work out at the same UFC gym back when he was living in LA. And he used to have a trainer, and I know these trainers. It was brutal workouts. I can guarantee you that was your meditation, because to me, and I heard somebody define meditation as just concentrating on one thing, just that one thing. You were just trying to get through that workout and get to the next exercise because you just wanted to breathe.
Yeah, that's true.
That was meditation, because that's all you were focused on. Nothing from work. No
from
family,
home.
none of the outside noise. You were just boom right there, because you were focused on what you were doing and it was important to you, and you were just trying to get through that workout. That is your meditation. So you have done it.
And I think you just start to notice those things. For me, I picked up hot yoga early on, and for me it was so hot in there, and you have to stay so focused to not like feel like you're gonna die, that became a form of meditation, because all I could do, I couldn't think about anything else. I literally could just focus on getting through the class. So those are forms of meditation. So if you get, a lot of people zone out of music. I see a lot of kids do this. They don't even realize it. That's a form of meditation. The more you do that, the more then you can, then maybe one day you could sit and you don't have to just sit and do, that's not the only form of meditation.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, I got to sit in a dark room, all silent.
No.
Sitting cross-legged.
I love doing that shit. I'll put the sounders and whatever, but that's not for everyone. No, there's other forms of meditation. It's just changing your brainwave from the beta, which is what we're operating, whatever, to the alpha, where we're daydreaming and doing that stuff. And then you could get to the theta, and you could get it to, I wouldn't advise trying to get to the theta brainwave while you're running, because you might fall,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's different forms. So
What
I would
happened,
just encourage people to try there's sound healing. Like some people can zone out, do that. There's a bunch of different stuff.
The one
Yeah.
thing that I've done, and it might be something that people may want to try off the get-go, is a sensory deprivation tank.
Explain that.
So a sensory deprivation tank, and mind you, if you're claustrophobic, they have bigger rooms. So basically, you go in this like kind of like big jacuzzi that's about 12 to 18 inches deep of water, and then there's like a ton.
It's salt water,
It's
right?
salt water.
Yeah.
They put a ton of Epsom salt in there, and basically, what you do is you go in there naked, you lie on your back, and you just float. The salt.
It's what Frankie always talks about. Our co-host,
Oh, yeah.
he says he goes float in water. Or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
And so basically the salt keeps you afloat. So you're not going to drown even if like you do somehow, which you're not. It's only a foot to 18. And the lights go out and you start to, and the water is body temperature. It's warm. So that's how you lose sensation of your body. And I've noticed, so the first one I ever did was 90 minutes. That was it might have been 2 hours. That was a great experience. The second one wasn't so great because it was only an hour. Like I said, it goes back to how long does it take for you to kind of quiet the mind?
Right.
Once I quieted my mind in that 90-minute, 2 hours, I will say this. One of the scariest things that I thought of was floating in space. That to me terrified me. Sensory deprivation got rid of that because it made you feel like you were floating in space. You're just out there. And I felt like a bat because I didn't know which way was up and which way was down. I was just like, felt like I was hanging from the ceiling. I saw images. It was just a great experience. And when I get out of there, they have you sit in another room to just chill. Because you were in such a euphoric, like almost like you're kind of coming down from a high.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I left that sensory deprivation tank so relaxed. And some people like, oh, that's a long time. And some people have a hard time.
Yeah.
But if you think that you can be just in one place for that amount of time, I would highly recommend trying that.
I haven't tried that yet. I need to try it.
That
I've
sounds
just
fun.
been lazy.
Gina's gonna go straight to heaven because that's the time.
Yeah,
That's how
exactly.
she can get into. I know her regular meditation. She can get there.
Yeah.
In this, oh good Lord. She about to see Jesus or something.
You know, a lot of people go in saunas and
Yeah.
they don't say they're meditating. They don't realize it's a meditation, but they do zone out in there. Now, I always see a lot of people take their phone in there, which is doing opposite, right? Can you go in a sauna for 20 minutes and without your phone? That could help. That could zone you out too. I was just giving you examples,
Yeah.
but think outside the box if you really want to try. Don't like try to. I'll knowing you, I'll try to come up with some other stuff. But think outside the box. It's stuff that you may not think of.
During
I mean-
during COVID, I went and I bought a specific bike that I wanted as a kid. It was a dirt bike. It was a GT bike. Never had one as a kid. I was like, I'm gonna buy that. And there's a story for two reasons. One, I have a thing with money, and so this was an exercise that I think Geena had mentioned to me to do.
Yes.
Buy the bike and don't worry about it.
Because he's always wanted this
Yeah,
bike. The
and-
bike's
and
gonna
I
make him
researched-
happy.
Yes,
Do it.
I researched the hell out of it. There was a bike that I wanted that was online, and it was cheaper than the one I was buying. And I think I'm telling this story right. Anyways, they didn't have that one at the store, the cheaper one, because that's the one I wanted based on money.
Not
Oh,
because
no. I take that back. The one that I wanted was too much, so I was going to get a cheaper one. They didn't have that one at the store, so they gave me the bike that I really wanted, but at the cheaper price. Okay, how did that happen? I got the bike that I really wanted and didn't have to spend. The universe made it easier for me to get it, and I got exactly what I wanted. Okay, that's one part of the story. So what I did during COVID was I couldn't really work out. So I was like, I made a whole Spotify playlist of songs that just made me happy. I put that in. I rode for 2 hours, not like a kid. I'd pull over, like I'd go in places where they were construction and I would go in the dirt and jump off
Like a
everything
kid.
like a kid. There was one time it rained and there were puddles. I went through the puddles. I was like, being a kid, great meditation. And the only things that made me, everything about that hour and a half to 2 hours was about making me happy.
You know who doesn't have problems meditating? Kids. And I've practiced with them and they can get in the zone really quickly. You know why? Because we are born with this innate stuff, but as the world and everything going and we start thinking, we realize, and that's like we get so far away with it. But I'll go through a meditation with my little niece. She's 7, she knows. And I'll sit there and she closes her eyes. Like, what do you hear? I hear the ocean. I hear someone talking. I hear whatever. Okay, let's bring it back. But Nina, I hear this, and you just kind of bring it back. And then she's like, I'm all, do you feel peaceful? She's like, oh, yeah. Like, you tune it all out. You can hear it. But she's like, but I still hear it. And you can hear it. It's still there, but you're back right here in this moment. And kids can do that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we need to all be back to being a kid. Do things like kids do. Enjoy. Like, when kids go in somewhere the first time, like, they would probably come and be like, oh, my God, this set is so cool. They love the dog. Like, they're so happy. And we're just like, whatever, sitting here. You know what I mean? And I think a good practice is to go back to being a kid. Do things that you did as a kid that made you happy. Because a lot of times you ask someone, like, what makes you happy? They don't know. It's hard. I don't know what makes me happy.
You asked me right now.
Like, what makes you happy?
I don't know.
What makes you happy? Then think about what made you happy as a kid. And I'll bring this up. As a kid, I loved going and playing claw machines. Like, the claw machines where you put the money in, right? And it just brought me so much joy. And I think like 6 months ago, I was like, why don't I go now? There's one at Dave & Buster's. I went. My boyfriend took me. We had so much fun just playing the claw machine. Like, when's the last time I've done that, right? Like, we need to do more things that make us happy. But as an adult, you ask a kid what makes you happy, they'll list off 100 things, and they're the most simplest things. Going to the market with my mom, because they appreciate being with their parent. You know what I mean? And if you really start to look at kids and become like kids, I promise you'll become a better person. Like, next time there's a kid around you, observe them. Observe the stuff they say. Observe what makes them happy. The simplest things make them happy.
I think that's one thing that I've learned recently, and it stuck out to me, is that, and like you hear so many things that are kind of somewhat, I guess, on the cliche side, but it's very true. Happiness comes from within, and that has helped me because I saw, and this goes back to things that you can do for yourself. One of the things I started doing, clearing out my Instagram, all social media, anything that was toxic, and I started filling it up with things that were going to add things to my life. And that is the one thing that everybody that is listening can do today.
Yep.
Add things that are going to make you feel good. I cry every day almost because of these videos of little kids or whatever, like touching, like things that are touching, like a family loving one another. And I cry at that, but I feel so much better.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what am I going to do? Follow, like, what do I want to follow? Like, I'll just get a half naked girl, or do I want to watch something that's going to add value and make me feel good in the day?
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's one thing that you can do. And I saw a video of J. Cole, and J. Cole was saying, like, before I was like, always looking to the next thing. I got to get that. He's achieving all these goals, but he had that ultimate goal that he was going after. You're always going after that, and you've forgotten all those little steps, and those were all victories that are going to get him. You have to, happiness is where you are at
right now. And that goes back to staying present. You hear it, it's a cliche, stay present. Like, you have to always, I remember when I first moved into my condo, I was so grateful. Like, I have envisioned this place since I was a little girl. Like, this exact condo I'm sitting in, I knew I was going to live here, and I knew it was going to have a view. Like, when I walked into this condo, you can ask my realtor, I started crying because it's the same one. She's like, I take that as this. It's the same one I've been envisioning all my life, right? Then you live here a little longer, you get whatever. I made it a point to go outside on my patio and just say, thank you. Thank you, universe, for bringing me here. I know I'm not going to live here forever. We're actually looking for another house right now. But in the moment, you have to, like, say, like Chris, you bought a condo, right? Like, do you sit there and just sometimes just sit in it and really be like, wow, I have a condo. Thank you, universe,
No, I
for
don't.
giving me this condo. Like
Yeah.
most
I mean,
people,
it's
yeah,
true. I
exactly.
don't. They laugh. Yeah, it's
Most people,
true.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
huge accomplishment, you know? And I think we just get so used to everything that we've done that we're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to bring yourself back and really be like, thank you, you know?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what Drew said about like you have to flip the script and be positive. And I feel like I'm very good at that. Like I make, you know, a shitty situation okay. Like, you know, if something happens, oh well. Like one example was that I accidentally threw away clothes, like a full bag of my clothes during COVID. I had COVID.
New
my wife
clothes.
had brand new clothes. I thought it was trash. I took it to the dumpster. She tells me hours later that, hey, those were your clothes in there. I go out to the dumpster. There I am inside the dumpster looking through like the trash. Neighbor comes out. Oh, some homeless man came here an hour ago and walked away with a bag. And I was like, well, he probably needed it more than me.
And that's basically,
And that's, I'm like, you know what, whatever. Like, I could afford clothes. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he needed something.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've been able to do that. But certain
that's
things
good.
like sitting in my condo thinking like, oh man, this is great. Like, I don't think of that because I do take it for granted. And that's what I think what a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I think and I think that's normal, but I think recognizing that and bringing yourself back is like a simple task you can do every single day. You know, because I think we don't do that enough. You know, so I would try. I mean, I know Drew does that with
I
his
mean,
place.
there was one theta session I had with Geena, and she told me one day you're gonna, because I recently bought a condo, and she told me you're gonna stand on your balcony and you're gonna kind of look in through the sliding glass window, and you're gonna feel like, damn, I did it. And I hadn't done it. I hadn't gotten that feeling yet. And then one day, and I was sitting, and so during COVID, I've developed getting high on the weekend. I indulge in edibles. Look, I had to get some sort of happiness through. I'm locked up in my house. I gotta get something.
I indulge. I like that.
indulge. So anyway,
It brought him to that theta brainwave so quickly.
So, but it would take an hour to kick in.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there on my couch, and I just look. And every Friday I clean my house. I'm sitting on my couch on Friday, and I'm just looking at my kitchen, looking at it. I'm like, damn, this is mine. Like I did it. Like I have been trying to buy a house for years, and I just was not financially. Once again,
You were
this is the
scared, too?
universe was looking out for me because I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't. I didn't want to admit that, but I was ready. So anyway, so I just started like, and for 10 minutes I sat there just like, man, like just thankful. And I was saying like just how grateful I was. Then that's when it clicked. And mind you, I had sat there in gratitude all like for a few other times. But then I remember what Geena said. I was like, it's not on the balcony. This is it. Like, because with some of the things that Geena will tell me, like, it's not going to be exact.
Yeah.
But
It's more the feeling than
yes,
the exact.
But
yeah.
it was like, the only difference was that I wasn't out on my balcony. I was in my couch. And that's when I realized, I was like, damn. But I do that all the time because it's like, dude, I struggle so long to get that. And I'm like, whatever happens now, whatever.
Good.
But I did it, and it's a huge. I didn't get no co-signer. Nobody gave me money. I've been saving up for years to do this. Like I did this on my own, and I sat there and I do it all the time. Why? Because this is a big thing, and I want to appreciate it. And dude, like,
Yeah.
it's sitting there and just realizing these things.
I think changing your perspective on things, and I wanted to get into something else because we're already running out of time of our second episode. But like for example, when I spilled, Drew came in here for the podcast, and he had a brand new coffee. He got coffee for everybody, and then I go ahead and spill his whole coffee, right? The thing, he could have got angry. And I think if you could think of examples in your life where people that ruins your day, he was like, whatever. And then you guys went and got some more coffee, right? That could have totally, like, he could have been mad. He could have been upset. And sometimes if you're not operating at a high level, you may be mad, you may get upset, and that will ruin your whole day. Or you can choose to be like Drew in that moment. Like, I don't care. Chris is like, let's go. You guys went and walked in, and now we're having a good podcast. You know what I mean?
And that's one thing. That's one thing I think if you decide to do things, and one thing I've learned is you can choose what you want to be.
Mhm.
You can hear that and like, that's not right. Okay, somebody cuts you off. Are you going to choose to spend the next 10 minutes being pissed off or figuring out ways where you can get ahead of that person and you can cut them off? Or were you just like,
whatever,
all right, whatever?
Maybe someone was having a baby. Maybe they're going to, who cares? You know, we don't know. But I wanted to bring it back to, you said when you get in meditation, you felt some hands,
Yes.
right? And so I wanted to talk about like spirit guides, angels, and signs that we human beings are given every day that you're missing, like signs. And Chris, you're looking at me like, what the fuck?
Because like I kind of think I know where you're going, but go ahead, because I'm thinking like I do ask like, oh hey, show me a sign.
Yeah.
That and I'll
Yeah, no,
hey,
and
show me a sign I'm about to win the lottery, or show me a sign that whatever I'm gonna have. And I don't hear things or I don't see things, so I'm
but
just
they're
like,
showing
whatever.
you signs, and it's probably because you're asking the wrong question or you're asking the questions wrong. But they're showing you signs. They're showing you signs, and so. This is our belief, or my belief. I know Drew believes the same. We have spirit guides, we have angels, we have our beloved ones who've passed. They're all there helping us every single day. And the problem is, like, you can ask them for help and ask them for signs, and they will show you signs. Okay, people miss the signs all the fucking time, but if you're having a day, Drew, that you have sign after sign, isn't it so cool? Like, oh my god, like, oh my god. Yeah.
The funniest thing was when and I remember being here at Gina's house, and she's told, this is when I started learning about angel numbers, which are like 3 numbers in a row.
Yeah, like 444. You see people put 1111.
Oh yeah,
444.
Make a wish.
Yeah, but it's not make a wish.
Oh,
There's
no.
like if people, see, that's what people think.
See,
But
1111, make a wish. Am I right?
Whenever, if you randomly, if you randomly see a number like 222, 11, 333, right? Just randomly, and you notice it catches your eye. Think about what you were thinking about right before you saw the number. Okay, was it something going on in your life? Was there like what was going on right before you saw that number, right? Then go Google 333 spiritual number, and I will guarantee you that whatever comes up will be the answer to whatever was on your mind right before that or that day, whatever big thing was going. And it's not like, don't look for them like, okay, I'm waiting until it turns 333 right there. But it's when I'm talking about those times when you just randomly see it wherever and it catches your eye. You're like,
now, the one thing about when Gina, first of all, willowsoul.com is a great place to go to give you a bunch of meanings for all these numbers when you see them. I used to tell Gina, I'm like, I never see them. Like, I've been trying. And even when we started working together, I was like, I don't ever see them. Now, man, my phone, somebody will text me and it will just, or a ding. Like I have another app, IM app. Download it on your phone. It's very helpful. I'll get the IM little pings. 111, 1111, 1010. Okay, that's somebody, that's something going off at that specific time. That is not coincidence when it happens multiple times.
So then do you do what she does and stop and like, okay, what
I
think
don't.
about?
Sometimes I forget to do that, but I see what it means.
And I don't do that so much anymore. I'm saying when you're first starting, I definitely would, right? Yeah. After that, sometimes it's just confirmation that, like, say you're having, like, so many times I'll be having like this deep spiritual talk with Drew, and I look up and it's like 444. And I know that that's them just confirming, hey, like, you guys are talking about something good. You guys like you're confirming things. So it can be a lot of different meanings as you develop this, but also you can hear signs through conversations, through music. If anything just resonates to you, like say you're like a line in a song resonates to you, like in that moment, like that just hits you, that is a message. That is a sign. You know what I mean? If you are driving down the street and you see some random billboard that you drive by every day and you've never noticed it before, but that day it says, I am, or whatever, I am confident, whatever it says, that is a sign to you, but you're not paying attention to it.
So kind of going back to the numbers, you said that like Google 3333.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And let's say I was thinking about, oh man, I'm going to buy a house. Should I buy a house? Will that show me like yes or no? Or like where does that guide you, you know?
So I think it will give you, no, it's not going to tell you whether to buy a house, yes or no. This is the problem. So I think we think that we know what's best for us when it's best to let the universe or God or whatever it is you believe in know what's best. So many times you think you need a home. They don't want you to have a home right now because they have the better home for you 10 years, but we're so focused on getting this specific home that we're almost like because I believe in that once you let go, everything will happen exactly how it's supposed to happen. But most people have this plan in their head that I need to be married by 30, I need to have kids by this age. I need to do this. And you're so focused on that that's not supposed to be your plan. And the second we let it go and like instead of what was the question you said about the house?
About
Oh,
buying
like
a house.
will it say yes or no if I Google like
But what
if I
was the
see?
question though that you had for the house?
Oh, like if should I be buying this house?
Yeah. How about you ask the universe, universe, like show me my next place of inhabitants or like you know what I mean because this is the thing, so like maybe your next place is an apartment because you need it, they need you there for a little bit because your house is coming on the market after but you're so okay. I use this example, I'm not explaining why I explain the example of like so many people come and be like, when am I gonna find my next boyfriend, or when is like, or I know I have to be married by a certain age, right? And they're so focused on that. What if the universe is telling you they're bringing you to your career first because maybe that's where you're going to find your next man, but you're so focused on going on all these dating apps to go on all these dates to find your man, and you're not socializing with the people at work where because that's second best. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Like
Yeah.
I guess I'm not giving that great of examples. Do you have a better example, Drew, of that? It's kind of like we think that we know where our life is going when the second we let go and let the universe take control, it goes exactly, and it may not be in the same direction. So I guess getting back to your questions, I don't like to ask specific questions. All right, hold up. This is like your 20-second Geena the Latina PSA. I need you to like, comment, subscribe below because we want to keep this show going. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please do us a favor and like, comment, subscribe below, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Geena the Latina Show. That's the Geena the Latina Show. I don't know why I can't talk. Back to the show. I like to ask, like, what's in my highest and best? Like, okay, I'm making a big career decision. What's in my highest and best? Or what do I need to know about this
So
decision
you wanna
to help me make this decision?
Okay.
And then that number, whatever that number says, will help you make your decision to go back to yourself and trust your intuition. Okay, now I know what the decision is. So does it tell you directly yes or no? No. Like ask it like, please give me some guidance on this decision I'm going to make. Take it and then go back to yourself to make that right decision. Because at the end of the day, you're the one making the decision. I don't believe in like believing in like, oh, that someone else can tell me yes or no. But it just seems like you need more clarity to make that decision.
But one thing about that too, and Chris brings up a thing is like, and I've started like figuring this out and learning this, is that because I've been doing all the spiritual work and like I ask for help and like signs, it's not, you have to do, you can't rely on that.
Yes,
like
you can.
like, because one of the things I was like so controlling, like, no, and I was afraid to make mistakes. And I'm like, no, it's okay to make mistakes. It's, you have to, that's all part of the process. And it's all part of, like Geena says, letting go. We all want to control. We all have this vision of what we want. And it's like, no. It's going to happen, but it's not going to happen. You're not in control of it. You have to just like, you have to flow. Like you just have to go with life and just like wherever this leads, just know there's going to be times when there's rough waters that you're going down the river. It's going to be choppy. Then there's going to be times when it's just, you're just cruising.
I have a good example, I guess. Okay, so say someone is like, I want to start this business, and they're like back and forth, like, should I buy this business? Should I buy this not? Blah, blah, blah. And then they see some number, the number tells them everything to start this business, right? So they start the business, right? And it fails. And they're like, what the fuck? The universe told me to start this business, and now it failed. But the reason why it had you fail is so that you can understand failure, because that person, I bet you their next business is going to be the big business, you know? So sometimes, I'm not saying the universe sets you up for fail, but sometimes you need those experiences. Like you have to just trust the process. You know what I'm saying? Like yes, in the moment, you were supposed to start that business for a reason. Maybe the reason was so you can learn how to fail so you don't fuck up the big business coming.
Right.
So you don't fuck up, because if you were given everything right away, you would have fucked it up. You know what I mean? So they started you with the little business. You can make all your mistakes so that you're successful in your like those are the kind of things that people don't understand. You know, like even failure is teaching you. And if you quote unquote failed, there was a reason for that, and it's for bigger and better later.
Everybody's gone through this, and I always tell people like, and I apply it to my life all the time. It's like, dude, if you go through, like I've gone through my, I go back and look, and you can specifically look at relationships to some degree. Anytime you go through a breakup, oh my God, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. Guess what? You get through it. and you go
learn
to
about yourself. You learn about the other person.
You figure it out. Guess what? You find somebody else and you're happy with that person. Maybe that one ends again too. Oh, everything always turns out to be okay.
And had you not gone through those and learned about yourself and others, you may not be ready like for that person, the right person. If that person came in too early and you weren't emotionally mature and hadn't gone through all these fucking breakups, then that person would have left too. So sometimes the universe does that. The universe does that with jobs, with like everything, with friends, like with everything. And so you have to just trust the process and realize like that's why it happened. And I don't know that's the thing. And a lot of people have problems with this trusting the future. Like for some reason, I always believe that everybody is there. Like you're in my life right now for a reason. You're in my life for a reason. We had that conflict that we had at work for a reason. You know what I mean? And so, and you just have to, but I don't know that reason yet. I don't know what it is, but it will make sense later. Just like breakups, in the moment you feel the worst, 10 years later, you realize, oh, I'm glad I broke up with that person because then I would have never met my so-and-so now. You know what I mean? And there's so many, like, it's the same with job opportunities. Like you think you're going to get this job and you think you're like, what the fuck? And you didn't get it. Then you get something better like 10 years and you're like, if I would have went down that lane, I would not have been sitting here. Or if I would have went down that lane, I would have never met my wife in San Diego. Like if you would have stayed in LA and take this job, whatever, or you know what I mean? Like say, so maybe the whole point in you taking this job down in San Diego and Chris came from LA is so that you can meet your wife.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the job.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't get. They think it's supposed to be like black and white.
Right.
Well, like the girl, like my ex-girlfriend, like our relationship ended. And it was shortly after that I started doing all this work. And it's so funny because I don't know, maybe I was creeping on her Instagram. Look, you're still going to go backwards sometimes. You could be working and trying to be a better version, but you could still make mistakes. And she had posted up, and I had, when we were still dating, there was one year on my birthday that I had decided I'm going to pay for a trainer. It was my birthday present, and I was 180 pounds. Some people, that don't sound fat. I'm 5'6" on a good day. I was 20 pounds away from 200. I was overweight. So I started losing all this weight. She knew I was losing weight. And she had posted up something like about like, although you can get in shape physically, but if you don't fix what's in your head and in your heart, you're not going to be healthy. That had already, she posted that and I was already starting to do the work. And I look back and I'm like, that was the best thing that happened because I started focusing and working on myself. And the next person I date is going to get a fantastic version. And I think that the next relationship I'm in is going to be the one not because that person is like, everything I want. I'm everything.
Right. You're ready for it.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready to do all the things that I wasn't in the past. And that wouldn't have happened if I didn't break up with that girl.
And I say that I always say the more work you start attracting the right people in your life. Whether it's relationships, whether it's business partnership, the more work you do on yourself, like I always say, like God, I believe in God, people call it universe, whatever, brings the right people in your life for no reason, no apparent reason. And, you know, I could give this podcast a thing. I've been thinking about doing podcasts for how long, right?
A long time.
And we were just going to do it, me and you, Chris, just in the studio, right? I randomly met the guys behind the scenes that you guys can't see right now when they were filming. I was a guest on another podcast, right? And then they approached me and said like, hey, we want to do this whole video, blah, 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 right when we were about to start our podcast. Yep. And so then we said, but they want to do it on a whole nother level, add video, they have all these ideas and they're so enthusiastic, kind of like what we needed in our life, like what I needed. And they're here. So thank you guys, by the way. Thank you. But like, I don't think that's chance. You know what I mean? I really don't. I mean, it is chance, but not like, I think like once you start becoming, and there's something that they're doing that has them here today, you know, and then there's always a bigger purpose and you accept it. I'm not saying we're going to be together forever. Maybe they'll go on and do different things, but for the moment, that's what it is. And that's what I think, you know, I've turned to. I'm gonna start crying right now. Thank you guys for being in my life. There, you guys can't see them, but yeah, so I just think once you become a better version of yourself, you start attracting the right kind of people in the life, and you don't even have to worry about.
And I think you also like there's the other side of that is you start cutting out people out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You start realizing like, dude, you know what? You're just kind of like, I have a friend that she noticed, like, she was like, "How come you don't ever call me? I'm always calling you." And I didn't want to straight tell her, like, because
Call her right now. Call her
you're
right now.
negative and you're like, you're toxic. And I don't like, dude, and she affects my energy because I'm
Yeah.
like, and so like, and I choose not to, I don't call her
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm trying here because I'll tell you this. This was really hard for me at a point to admit. I realized I was a negative person. And I started thinking back, I'm like, damn, man, I wonder if people realize, and I think that they did. And hey, man, I've shifted my energy. Do I have episodes of when I'm like, yeah, I'm human, but I know not to stay in that.
Mhm.
And so, like, it's made me a better person to be around because I'm not like angry. I'm not, like I'm not always like pissed off like I
Yeah.
Yeah.
was. And like, dude, I feel better. And
Yeah.
that's like the whole point is like, dude, I feel so much better. And here's the other thing. If you start doing it, like, dude, your life is not going to change dramatically overnight. Like, get that out of your head. Meditation, all the spiritual work is exactly like going to the gym if you're overweight. It's got to be a little bit at a time and just stick with it. And when you
Yep.
start to look back, in the mirror, when you work out, in the mirror, you can see it. When you're doing spiritual work, you have to kind of take a minute and remember the person you were. And then you start to see, like, oh man, like, or how would you have reacted? It's little
Uh-huh.
things, and you just have to acknowledge it. It's the same thing as going to the gym. It's the
Yep.
same thing. It takes time, but you have to keep at it in order for it to work.
Yeah. So all in all, I think the past 2 episodes, if you're this far, I think we're talking about all these things and like this it takes years to do all these things. Like you said, it
Yeah.
can be overwhelming. I guess my suggestion would be to start small and start doing something that makes you feel better every day. And then you can add reading and all these other things. I'm gonna quickly go through some of the other things. We don't even have to discuss it, but just so you know. And I don't want this to be overwhelming. I just want you guys to know that this has been like 6 years in the making. I am lucky that I am financially able to do all these things. And I get that not everyone could do that. But there are always like free yoga classes online. There's free, all these things. We didn't even go into it. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on chakras and clearing your chakras and all that. I meditate before any big events, or I at least ask, like, hey, like this morning, I asked, like, hey, let this give me the words to be able to say what whoever needs to listen to this podcast needs to hear. You know what I mean? And you could do that before anything you do. Like, give me like make the intention before you go to work. Like, let me like guide me to let me have the best day ever. I journaling, which we talked about, but also just freestyle journaling. Whenever you're angry and you're mad at someone, I feel like we need to do a whole nother episode on that, but you can literally write to them instead of yelling at them. You're mad at your wife, you write like to them and you burn it and you throw it away. And that's a way to release it. I see a naturopath and who has got all my vitamins on like point. I see a natural doctor who has balanced my hormones. I do acupuncture. And this is the thing I pick. All these people believe the same things I believe. If you look into it, there is holistic people for everything. And I never knew that. My acupuncture, she believes in she would sit here and have the same so when she's doing acupuncture, she's doing with energy. So it's a whole different, because I've gone to regular acupuncturists, and I'm not saying you have to. Some maybe regular acupuncturist for me. For me, my acupuncturist, she believes the same shit we do, so I get something different out of it. A chiropractor, the same thing. I was literally crying at my chiropractor's office because he was talking about how I need to just, and it had nothing to do with him cracking my neck and stuff, because he believes in the same energy and all that. And I specifically choose these people. I go to a masseuse who does specifically energy, and she can tell you what she feels in different parts of your body and tells you why your neck feels like, why is your neck like this? Like, she can feel it intuitively. There are people like that. So I don't go to a regular masseuse. I go to that, and then I've gone to James Van Prague's workshop. I go to Monica the Medium. I go to Laura Day. And so those are like the things I just wanted to go through. Maybe we'll get through some of those specifically on the episodes, but I do say, like, you get to pick and choose what you do. And I'm not saying maybe a regular chiropractor work for you.
Yeah.
For me, I choose everybody with intention. Like, every single person, like, and no one needs to like if I felt like any of these guys had bad energy, I wouldn't work with them. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the guys behind the scenes that you can't see. That I do the same with my doctors. I do the same with the people I interact with online. I do the same. Like, you can really be calculated in who you work with and who you're around. And that's what I do.
I think one thing that I would suggest to people is to be open because I'm like I said, like in the other in part one, I'm very much like a hippie. Like I'm willing to try like things. Like I've been like researching DMT trips. Now
that's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole nother episode. But because I have questions and there's I want to know things. I want to have experiences, and there's be open to be open to different things because everything's not just straight and narrow. And I feel
ask
that
questions. I always say, I tell my nephew, like, ask questions. Don't just believe something because someone tells you. Like, don't just believe me because I'm telling you, Chris. Find like one thing that maybe I'm interested, and go do your own research and like, okay, yes or no, I don't really.
Well, here's one thing that I do want to say, and because I had an experience about it. I feel like if you're a religious person that goes to church, right? Mm-hmm. I have a friend that she's really religious. And when I would talk to her about meditation, she was like, oh, I can't do that. That's going into a thing. And then I see her posting things and I'm like,
that's a meditation.
It's very similar to what, like, she's posting all these other things about the Bible. God doesn't give you everything that you can't handle. And all these, and I'm like, that's the same thing that we're practicing. It's just like, you're just looking at it because you feel like it's got to come from the Bible. Like, I'm not saying that there's not, I have questions about religion, but that's more because of what people
I feel like we need to do a whole episode on religion and all that, because I had a real struggle with that because I grew up very Christian and I still believe in God. I still go to church. And my mom, I remember the first time my mom, because my mom's really like, she thinks I do witch stuff or something. I don't know. I think at the beginning, she thought I do witch stuff. But then our pastor said, I meditate. He said it on the thing. I'm like, Mom, he meditates, so now it's okay. Right? And so I've always said that religions, and we could do a whole episode on this, everybody is talking about the same thing.
It is.
They're just doing it differently, calling it something else, all doing the same thing, right? And so that's why I believe like you can do whatever resonates with you, right?
I mean, it's like, dude, like when I pray to like, I pray, but like I'll ask for my guardian angel. I'll ask
and
for
you
help
like
from
universe,
them.
right?
I like universe because, like I said, I have issues with religion in terms of like what people say and do, the way they use it. That's it has nothing to do with God. I believe that I have not died. I'm a human being. I'm living. I don't know if it's God, Buddha, whoever, Muhammad, I don't know. So how can you tell me? Do I think that there's something bigger? Absolutely. There's something bigger. I don't know what it is. And all that I can tell you is that there's different religions, but they all basically teach the same basic things. And it's how you treat other people. And it's everything, all this stuff that this spiritual, whether you're religious or spiritual, it's all the same thing. We're still asking for help from something that's bigger than us. Yeah. So,
and I would say I'm a combination of both. Like I love going to church. I love, but love go to a spiritual church too. And I don't think you have to be one thing. And some people may disagree with me, I'm sure. But once I accepted that, it was easier to do what resonates. And that's what resonates with me and what made me feel good. I can't think that I'm going to go to hell because I'm doing something that makes me a better person. I just don't believe that. You know what I mean? So anyway, I hope that helped you if you're listening to the podcast. I know we rushed through a few things and I feel like we'll go into episodes. I hope this wasn't overwhelming for you, Chris, because I didn't even tell Chris what we were talking about when we started before we started the podcast.
I just showed up. This is what we're talking about, I think. Cool. Why not?
Have not done any of this.
Are you going to start any? No, but that's why I wanted Chris, someone that's never done
that's the thing. It's like, I have to think about it. It's like, obviously, would I like to meditate and clear energy? Yeah. Will it happen tomorrow? I can't guarantee that, but it is a thought and it's opened up my mind a little bit more to actually trying something new.
Okay, well,
can you start off by not getting on your phone first? Let's start with
honestly, that's a whole other episode right there.
Let's start with the first 15 minutes of you waking up. Don't get on your phone.
But
I have to get on my phone.
You don't have to do it.
No, I'll tell you why. Real quickly, this is why I have to use it. I have to use my phone so I can walk around my room in the dark, so that way I don't wake up the wife. So I have to have my phone with a flashlight.
The flashlight, because I have to get on it for my.
I think he means like going to
don't
social
go through
media.
your texts, your social media, your emails.
first thing I do.
Don't-
man.
I know.
Exactly.
I
You've
go to
already
the-
started your day
I'm already
off.
texting him that early.
That's her fault.
You're-
You talk to
It's
her.
okay. It's okay.
You tell
If
her.
you don't
Don't be
respond to
texting
me,
me.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, can you get this audio?
Yeah, you talk to her. That's a
Gina,
whole other conversation.
Well, are you sending these texts
What?
in the morning?
If I need audio, I'll
Yeah.
send it to
Okay,
him.
so
because
then
I-
you don't get on your phone. Like we're
Yeah, what are
we
you
gotta
doing on
get it
your
before
phone?
6 a.m. before we go. Okay,
Look,
we'll work on this.
maybe you guys need to. This can be all handled prior to you guys going to bed, correct?
Some of it,
No,
no.
sometimes Kanye goes on rants overnight, and we need
Well,
the audio
maybe
by
you
the
just
morning.
need. Maybe that's a sign to stop talking about Kanye. Like,
Do you know what we do for a living? See, and that's a whole nother topic. But
another episode.
anyways, thank you for listening. We obviously have a lot more episodes to go. And Drew, thank you for being our
thank you for
guest.
having me.
Where can they
Enjoyed it.
find you on social media?
I'm DJ Drew.
and where
on
can they
everything.
hear you?
Pitbull's Globalization every Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. on the East Coast.
On what channel?
Channel 13.
Okay.
Sirius XM.
Thank you.